What's going on, everyone? So last night I had a live stream. It was all on Next.js, and we had a really good time. For those that aren't familiar, I do a lot of technical content. I try to do a lot of technical content, and I came across this really, really great blog article by Mark. And for those that don't know Mark, Mark is a software engineer here at This Labs, and honestly, very, very intelligent individual. And he wrote a blog article, and I'll even share it right here so that way everyone can kind of see it. I was literally geeking out about it, and I'll share the link in the stream chats as well, so that way everyone can kind of have it, and I'll add it into any of the posts that I make about this. But in the blog article itself, I was really impressed because I felt like there was so much value that people can kind of get out of this one. And I was like, oh, I think this would go a long way, right? And so sharing this here so that way we can kind of see. I was looking at this blog article, right? And it was lessons from the DOGE website hack. So everybody, if you follow any kind of news, this was news for a very long period of time in regards to DOGE itself and the hack and all the things that were exposed. People were hacking the site, and I mean, even you can see here, like Meet the Government. There's a joke of a .gov site. All that kind of went out there, but a lot of it was Next.js things that were just missed that come out of the box already there. And so when I saw that, I was like, that's a pretty interesting take. And so Mark, of course, he wrote this article. Highly recommend checking it out. But I thought I'd bring Mark on and we can kind of talk through this a little bit and like discuss what it is we see in regards to like the DOGE site hack and whoops, I pressed wrong button there. The DOGE site hack and maybe like your thoughts around it. So I guess Mark, introduce yourself for those that maybe aren't familiar with who you are, but like I really wanted to get your takes on this.
Hi, Danny. Thank you. I'm Mark. I'm software engineer at this Labs for 3.5 years now. I work with Next.js every day, and like as many of people like saw this, they had like we are using Next.js in every day at work, and like a lot of people had like concerns about Next.js, but like we are here to prove no, like Next.js is totally a solid framework, but like we will talk about some points with this like security stuff uh that we should care about in our apps to not let something like this happen to our apps. This is pretty common. Like when I researched about like those kind of attacks, in 2020, there is an incident happened. A hacker created an automated script to detect like if websites are like if there are websites with misconfigured uh, MongoDB databases, and you will be surprised, but by the number he found 23,000 databases with MongoDB that was misconfigured and left open. Anyone can edit it, and like so yeah, something like this is very simple, but also it probably can it probably will do a lot of harm to your apps. So we have like some points that you should take care of when you consider developing a Next.js app. Uh, but yeah, like from the screenshot we have on the blog post, it's definitely the back end. They didn't look the database uh, look the database down properly, but like yeah, no, it was like the first screenshot, not
Double check
this
your
one.
server actions.
No, the first one. Yeah, this the page of the website itself.
This
Um,
one,
Not this one, the
this.
first one. Yeah, Doge one at the very beginning of the article. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you see, this is actually like some sort of data coming from the database. So it's not the website itself. It's not Next.js. It's as we know, it uses Next.js and Cloudflare pages. So like this is secure, but also like this coming from the backend. And yeah, we're gonna discuss some few tips to secure your database, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
All right. I mean, let's talk about this a little. Like, can you start breaking down? Like, what did they leave open that was that had the ability to expose? Like, I know you mentioned like no API keys or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
can you explain a little bit more on? I guess if somebody was working on a project like this, what should they be considering to make sure like they're not in a similar situation?
Yeah, exactly. Well, for sure, we don't know for sure what they left open because they
We
probably
don't work there.
fix it very, very, very fast. But also, we know it's the database. So, like, okay, how to secure this with your Next.js applications? First thing, lock down your database. It's you have to set like if you are using a server, you have to make this server only accepts API requests from for the database server, API requests from specific IPs or domains, not from everyone online. And if you are using a service like, let's say, Firebase or Superbase or something similar, they also have the configurations for this in the settings to only allow those IPs or domains to access the database. Also, for development purposes, you should use local version of the database with Docker or with something like this and not access the live version of the database as a production version. So like you separate them. We have a production database, only accepts requests from our app. You have also a development one, probably it's hosted, or we have like a local version that we can develop on it without accessing the production one. Uh, so yeah, like this is the first point. We said we should set authentication to this database server. So
Yeah.
like if you are using Firebase or anything else like this, they already have some sort of those things like a token that you have to have a token to access the server. But if you have your own database server, you have to set it by yourself. Set this and handle this by yourself. Also, if you are like corporation or enterprise software company, you should use something like VPC, a virtual private cloud. It's some sort of extra layer of security. It makes a secure connection between those two servers, a database server and your own server, and it's not exposed online. And actually, if you are using Vercel, Vercel for the enterprise subscription, they already have something called Vercel um, Vercel Secure Compute. It's a
Hmm.
product they have. It's only available for enterprise subscription. So if you are using this at work, you have to use something like this to make it more secure. So like this is for like looking down the database, but we usually don't deal with the database from the front end. This is another thing. Like you don't deal from the front end directly to the database. You have to use back end. And by using backend, you are using it through APIs. So you have also to make sure those APIs are not left open. You guard them with authorization, authentication, and all of that. Because like if we have the database locked down in properly and like the APIs are open, so like hackers will still have a way to access the database. So we also have to secure the APIs, make sure it uses authentication, authorization, and probably also like rate limits. That's an extra layer of protection. Like if you have to like not let anyone abuse your APIs or something like this. Um, and after the database, we have server actions. This is one of really impressive features of Next.js that not a lot of people know how it works behind the scenes. It definitely make our lives better, but also we have to understand how it works. Server actions, when you create a server actions, Next.js creates like some sort of public endpoint for it. So like you can access it from the front end. And we have to understand that this is not only gonna work on the server, especially if you're gonna use this server action in a client component, not just server component. So we have also to check authorization and authentication on those server actions if we want to retrieve data. I remember in the official Vercel documentations, they don't recommend retrieving data through server actions because of that. Like many people just will go and put like not secure authorized not secure like functions there, but like we have to guard those function with authentication and authorization. We had a example in the article about it, like how that server action will respond in the network tab when you hit it. It's just some sort of endpoint, and it will return data. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I a couple things really want to share, right? And you touched on a lot of really good points. We got this comment here: Doge got hacked. Honestly, I feel like this is really big news for several weeks, right? Like you can kind of see,
Yeah,
um, like comments like this, for example, these experts left their database open row. They were constantly changing the message. It was news for a little over a week, nonstop on social media, where people
yeah.
were talking about it. Heck, even the news was talking about it. So if you just search it on Twitter or pretty much any social media, you should be finding something in regards to this. If you're thinking Doge as far as the coin, that's not the one that we're talking about here. Even though there's the meme aspect of the naming of the government agency, but it's in regards to the government agency talking about this. And the thing that I found really really interesting too in this regard is you mentioned services like Firebase, MongoDB, etc. And one thing that I'm constantly seeing a lot of people do, especially at like maybe the junior mid, some seniors, because they just don't realize it. When you are trying to test and you're doing like especially for DB, a lot of them are asking for roles. And so some of them are just like checking everything by default in regards to being like, oh, whatever this is, I don't know what the answer is. So I'm just going to hit everything just so that way I can see my response come through. And it's like, man, if you just left off the any role, you'd be so much safer than just saying, anyone that wants to submit a request here, they can submit it. I feel like that's such a crazy, wild ask. So to me, that's something that just one checkbox being left unticked could save so much headache for a lot of this. What's funny is when I saw the database they left their database open. That was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, they have to be using something NoSQL related, and someone just went in there was like, I'll check everything because I don't know which role does. But I also probably didn't read the check boxes and was like, oh, I'll just check everything to make sure that this goes through. They saw the visual response of it went through, and they went on about their day not thinking anything different. That was my first instinct when I saw that. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah,
Nice for the blog article.
following your point, yeah, we don't need to approve like everything. There's every code from like any developer, but also like that's will lead us to a very good point. We are in the age of AI, and the worst thing to do in your app is just auto approve AI generated code in your back end part of the app. Well, the front end is fine. I'm very pro AI. I really think like it's a future, and it will make our life easier as developers and build more and ship more. But also AI is very good in front ends and applications. And even if there is a mistake, it will be like a CSS mistake or a button that doesn't respond when you click on it. Something very simple. It will not affect the security of your app. But when you are talking about the back end and APIs, that's a totally different discussion because like um, we are doing research in this dot this year about like AI and how to use it in, and what is the best model to use it in like best situation, best use case, and all of that. And w- like we have very surprising results from a lot of the senior developers who were involved in those research. But like yeah, here's the thing we found from like using AI. AI is trained on all of AI in all of those AI models in the market. They are trained on publicly available repositories, and we have to consider this. They didn't train on like enterprise level or government level back-end code that are in private repos, or not even hosted like in GitHub or whatever. Or even if they are private repo, GitHub doesn't have the right to train the model on it. So they are training it on the public available backends. And this will create like very big problems when you use it with backends. Most of the backends on GitHub are like half completed tutorials or like hobby projects. They are not in enterprise level backends. We are using very different. We are handling it in very different way. Like we are using strict rules, best practices. We have like very different structures and the open source ones. And it's funny that one of our like when I see one of our senior software engineers research on using AI in backend, it was impressive that uh, he used an AI agent to create a backend for him, and like try to make it what we are creating in for enterprise. And when AI created like a lot of lines of code, it's surprising that between those lines, the AI agent left a backdoor to bypass authentication, and commented this backdoor as, in case of auth0 service failed. And wait a minute, this is this is probably someone was training on like v0 auth0 and publish it on a public repo on GitHub. And when the AI model trained on this as well, and like it put it on your website. And this is like, if you will just approve AI, thousands of lines of AI code in backend, it will be like there will be consequences. And
Mhm.
especially backend, you have to review the code line by line and test it line by line. Every small bug could be a very serious vulnerability in your system. And also, there is a very, very uh, funny tweet that has been trending on all of social media recently. I saw it on Twitter X, and I saw it also on a Facebook techie group. And one of my colleagues sent it to me on Slack. Someone created a SaaS entirely with AI tools, and he was so happy. And like people started to pay for the product. And like 2 days later, just 2 days later, he posted, guys, I'm under attack. Like there are what he was saying, uh people are they're maxed out usage of AI keys. People are bypassing the subscription, creating random things on the DB, etc. And this is exactly from this. And like probably, I don't know if they used AI in Doge website or not for backend, but like if you're gonna use it, you have to review it line by line, and it will not make your life easier for backend. It will just could save you like 10% from your time coding the back end, because you still have to very like go into details and review it into details. So yeah, this is about like AI stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
So a lot of good points, a lot of good comments that we definitely need to address real fast, and some more points in regards to the whole hack that we need to kind of go over as well. So sharing things real fast. Jeff, good morning. Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for hanging out with us.
on-
Pierre, I look forward to reading the blog post. Given the rising interest in AI interacting with APIs, we need to think more critically about how the servers are accessed and thusly secured. Of course, I think that should be coming at all levels, not even just in regards to AI, but I think just in general. I still remember one of the first talks that I ever went to that actually like genuinely blew my mind, and it was not even in regards to APIs, but it just showed how many websites are susceptible to SQL injection. And I was like, we're not talking about like, oh, some random developer made this thing. I'm like talking to websites that we go to on a regular basis that don't validate or even protect the DB or the inputs, or they don't even do basic security checks. And so from that standpoint alone, I think a lot of things are being exposed. And I think this is where like the rising issues are starting to come from. We're not using the best secure practices at time. And some of this stuff is like very easy to kind of lift and shift and kind of get into that area where we need it. And so I think that's a big thing right there. I had no idea they were hacked, to be honest. That's wild. Yeah, definitely happened. I'm not surprised they were hacked at all. A team of young developers barely out of high school with no true supervision are doing whatever they want unchecked. Was a matter of when, not if it happened. I think that's a valid point as well, right? Like experience is the best teacher of everything. And so we often joke about one big issue in tech in general has always been like, oh, I dropped a database and I don't need coffee anymore because I'm completely awake. And you never forget that story. Or I've always said the best developer stories have never started with, oh, everything at work went smooth. It was like, oh, let me tell you about this thing that I did a year ago. You don't forget those moments. So experience is the best teacher in that regard. And so when it comes to things like this, whoever was on that team, they definitely learned a lesson. Don't get me wrong. But and I think the best thing that we can do as developers as well is like, hey, this happened to them. Let's not ignore it. Let's try and make sure our website is not susceptible in this way. Who knows if your website is ever attacked, but you don't want to be that situation of, oh, we weren't prepared. I'd rather be prepared and then we could talk about it later versus I can't believe this happened because we just neglected to do XYZ. We have this comment here of we store our service actions and general DB actions in staging documents and wrap it in OpenTDF. Have you seen this approach before? Any thoughts? Trying out MCP and slightly concerned on security. Anybody else? This is not really an unheard of practice. I think this is something that is pretty common to a certain degree, especially when you're talking about multiple environments and you need to be able to access that. Just make sure everything is secure. I think that's the biggest thing. Secure the staging environments. Make sure your documents are encrypted. That's like an idea there. Network segmentation, I think, is also a possible move. I don't think this is unheard of, though. Chris, thanks. I don't know what you're thanking me for, but I appreciate it. Let's see here. We got Bossman in the room. All right. Mistakes can happen to anyone, but also hearing that the Twitter DDoS occurred because critical services have simply not been deployed behind the Cloudflare DDoS protection service used by their critical Twitter services makes me worried about this move fast and let people break things attitude. If these people are storing our personal data and private secure information. The first thing that I would say is probably don't share anything private that you want on Twitter. That's definitely number one. But number two, I definitely agree as well because there's certain services that you go to. It's like things happen, it's cool. But then there's other services where you have this perception that it is a well-oiled machine, and you start losing confidence and whatever integrity or belief you had in XYZ product based on mishaps like this. One prime example of that is like Target. When Target got hacked, of course, hackers, depending on their effort, may be very successful. But when it comes to a brand like Target and shopping on their website, you have a level of confidence that you would believe things should go right. And so when things like that are exposed, you're like, do I shop here anymore? Like, is it just a matter of time before they start leaking out these other things? I applied for a Target credit card. So now not only did they steal my credit card, they stole my social security number because you let them have access to it. These are things that I consider very scary. And practices that you would believe they should kind of have exposed. So now getting back to this, we were talking about this briefly, but like securing your API routes. And for those that haven't read the article, I've dropped the link in the comment section. Let me know if you don't see it. I'll definitely retweet this and reshare this as well with the blog link so everybody can kind of see it in a moment. But let's talk about this a little bit. Like, what are some practices that you think around securing your API routes?
Yeah, we have mentioned this, like the authentication. We have to make sure authentication is there. Not anyone can access those APIs. Authorization, which is many like AI model can do it probably right now. I would recommend to use something like Serpos. It's an open source project that it's amazing. Like it even handles authorization in a different server to make it like very secure, and the rules are in a different server. Um, uh, it's amazing. Like I haven't seen something like this before, but like it has been used in a lot of companies I know. So yeah, definitely you have to check something like this if you are dealing with very important data like social security numbers, credit card info, bank information, because like it's gonna be bad if something like this happened to your company. It's as you said, it's just not uh, really good. And it also like people lose trust in those companies when after those incidents. But also like we are also talked about like server actions. That's okay. Uh, uh, Another thing, like you have to check like the API keys and your secrets. You don't put them on code. You put them on um, uh, environment variables in like whatever the service you will use. They were using Cloudflare pages, so it supports this. Vercel also supports this, and all of those other uh, hosting platforms support this, like separating your environment variables. Uh, but also like you can also secure your database with firewalls. That's another thing. Like I guess Vercel already has one that is activated by default now, even for the free tier. I don't know. I have to check this. But like I remember seeing a lot of tweets about it. It's amazing that they have this service out of the box. If you are hosting your backend by yourself, you have to set all of those make sure there is a firewall. Um, uh, yeah, and there is another very good point, which is hackers who hijack or inject JavaScript inside the database. So like when the front end is not prepared for this, and like you are pulling data strictly from from the database, this JavaScript will be will be running in the browser and will be working in the browser if you don't like use sanitize the inputs if you are dealing with inputs. For example, you have a social media platform, and in the post I wrote like script tag, and close the script tag, and added some bunch of JavaScript stuff. If my website is not prepared for something like this, and I posted this into the database, now when my post will be viewed by other users, this script will be hidden, will not be on the screen, and it will be activated, and it will has access to like your local data and stuff like this. And you could store like the tokens there, and like it's just, I mean, like this attack is pretty old, but also like probably with all of this a lot of people count on vibe coding right now, and it's great, but like you have to take care of smaller stuff like this. Don't sanitize the input of any inputs that you have in your application to prevent those kind of attacks. And that, yeah, that's pretty much everything. Like, uh, those are also basics, but yeah, we have to take care. We have to review them every time because we forget, and like, prevent some incidents like this.
Yeah. So got some more comments. Definitely going to go through it. Thanks for the blog link. Reading it now. I think that's phenomenal. Thank you. Mark really put a lot into it, so I think there's a lot of good value from a developer standpoint, especially developers working in org. I think that's pretty cool. Security Plus should be a requirement for all programmers. I definitely have some thoughts on that for sure. Like, sometimes seeing those things or going to like even a couple security meetups could be like a game changer for devs that are working in an organization, especially when we're talking about customer facing products. It doesn't mean internal products should be um, less secure, but especially when you're talking about customer facing ones where the whole world is at the opportunity to just mess up your day, I think that should be something that people are paying attention to. Zachary Wilson. Uh, I'm not surprised when you have a big target on your back and rapidly launch things without taking the time to properly secure them, you're inviting trouble. I definitely agree on this. And I think this is something that the decision makers of these companies are not thinking about. Like, it's cool when you're just, building something and you have maybe less like facing items. Sure. But when you literally put that target there, it's something to really think about. Um, Zach, man, we're definitely going to talk later. Zach is somebody that I've basically known now for 4 years, and he's just doing amazing things. So kudos to Zach. Really appreciate you stopping by. So I guess I would say in this last regard, because I definitely think from like a company perspective, there's like a lot of strong inherent value just in this. Are there any other things that like within Next.js that would be like a very strong practice for a company to kind of adopt and utilize?
Um, well, like, I would definitely recommend, like, if they have different uh teams, like front end team and back end team, I would recommend like using separate projects here and there, so like front end developers don't have access to the back end code, and vice versa. Even like a lot of companies now uses uh, something called zero trust policy. Like,
Hmm.
uh, you as a developer has the least required uh, access to do your job. And like, if a lot of companies uses something like micro frameworks, micro front ends. Like, every piece of the front end, like if it's a button, it's on its own repository. If it's a page, it's on different project. And like, if I am a developer who only work on this page, I will only have an access to this page. And like, when I finish my task on this page, they will remove my access here and add an access to a different thing. And like, you have to always reviewing the rules of your team members. This is a very good practice, and like, all of the enterprise mega corporations use this to like, with like, the project that has millions of visitors every day. So like, yeah, we should also follow this. Even if you are small startup but work in finance, for example, and deal with credit card data, you have to use this.
Hmm.
It is amazing. Always review your team members' uh, access to the code base.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the last thing that I'll say, we kind of touched on it earlier. Maybe we should even share this. Like, we were kind of memeing a little bit, but like there was a huge post that went the other day, and I'll share this in like the doc that we were sharing between us. Uh,
Okay.
And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially lately. I've been really thinking about it. And I even had a whole conversation with some of my like cohort members based on this. For those that don't know, we're doing a cohort right now, and it's been going really well. But it's something that I've been thinking about. And this person here, you share. Well, you explain it. You shared the meme. Go for it.
Yeah, it's like he's amazing guy. He's just he was really happy. He created a SaaS product with AI, and people start paying for it. It's amazing. But also like you know, generating, as I said, like generating AI code for front end is absolutely amazing. I enjoy doing it for my side projects. It's even if something went wrong, it will not affect your app. But I think, let's connect this incident with what happened with our senior engineer when like AI decided to create a backdoor with his demo app that he was building for research. uh, Something like this happened, or maybe even like my like what I think is AI created, for example, a separate page for like subscription, but like if you want to go inside the app, the other page will not be authorized. The authorization will not set up correctly. You have to set up to like only paid customers should be allowed on this page, and like AI didn't think so. So like we are dealing with like we are seeing with this kind of outputs from AI recently, and that's because it's trained on public repos. It's not trained for like especially back end need to be reviewed, need to be tested. You shouldn't approve anything for the back end from AI before reviewing it and tested. Uh, so yeah, it's just like it's common those days.
It it's funny because well, I guess let me ask you this before we end this thing, right?
Mm.
Like, what is your whole take on the in 6 months AI will be writing 90% of code?
Well, AI will help us to like ship a lot faster because like I'm using it for since like the preview beta version of Copilot
Mm.
in a like very early days, but it's so helpful. Like it reduced my Google research a lot. I don't need to research like every single thing I have to go through. uh, but like also for backends, it's still not ready, and like it's illegal for those companies to train it on like private repos for corporations or like companies. And if they did that, I guess like it will be a great lawsuit, and like they will go bankrupt from it. For front end, I guess do whatever you want, like of course not whatever you want, but like take care. Even for front end, you have to like take a look at the front end code that generated by AI, because maybe AI can just leave one of the if the AI model left one use effect without dependencies, or the correct dependencies added a correct incorrect dependencies to it, and this, for example, use effect handles something like map APIs from Google, you will end up with a bill of 8,000 or $16,000 of API usage. So you have to review the AI code. It's great. It like uh, generate a lot of code, but like also review it. If you will write the code, let the AI review it. If you will let AI generate code, you will have to review it, but not both. Not generating the AI code and reviewing it by AI. It will not work that way.
Yeah, it's funny because pre AI, say like pre pandemic, pre AI, right? Like the entire world of code existed in one like area. Software developers, software engineers. That was the only people that were touching it.
Mm,
Now the scope of what code is no longer exists within this bubble or this square that I keep calling it anymore.
mm,
The big thing that's changed is the sheer number of people that now have access to code. It's made the non-technical technical in a sense, but it's kind of the way that I always looked at Squarespace, right? Squarespace before tech or pre AI, people would be like, "Oh, why do I need a web developer? I'll just use Squarespace and get a website." I'm like, "That's perfect." Like, but when you start having specific problems you need to solve, that is when you contact a developer. When it comes to anyone writing code right now, there was this whole thing like several weeks ago where it was like V0, Bolt.new, Lovable, etc. They all had their GitHub access revoked because it was just so many websites being created from it. They were like, there's just we can't keep up. They cut it off for several days. It was like a whole GitHub outage that they were all talking about. And I found it amazing because I think it was 2 weeks ago. I went to go drop off my suit at a dry cleaner, and my dry cleaner was showing me the website that they were making. And this dude doesn't know the first thing about code, right? He's like, I just go in here and I type my thing, and it's doing this and this. That 90% of code doesn't reference the square of software developers that existed pre AI. It references all of the new code that is being written, and it's expanded what that scope of code now exists. And so at first, when I heard the 6 months for 90% of code, I was like, this is crazy. This is not even accurate at all. But now my whole stance on it has changed drastically because I think he's right. And I think it's right in the sense of just because I saw an app the other day or a product the other day where it's like you can make your own mobile apps now, like
yeah,
the V0 can do, right? And I was like, this is mind blowing. And so it's like the number of people
yeah,
that will probably come out with an app that probably is not secure, but they have something that they made that they could put out there and like be proud about and like geek out with their
mhm,
friends about is so much larger than it ever was previously. And so I
yeah,
think if you're just looking at sheer number of lines of code, 90% totally makes sense. But the 10% is where the world will probably live and operate their day to day things. And that
mm,
10% is going to be software developers, software engineers making that.
yeah. It's just it will make it very easy for normal people to create like personal websites for them, personal applications for them. But like when it comes to like uh, payments and payment system and stuff like this, I still think like there will be platforms specialized in a specific type of uh, things. Like if you want to build e-commerce, okay, this is a specialized platform, uses AI, and probably they will have like a standard template, and the AI will just change some code, but like there are some protected codes that AI will not be allowed to change, like the APIs and stuff like that. That will be like specific AI agents, and I guess yeah, it's going to be there. Uh, but what if you need a very custom thing for a very custom company? Then you will have to at least let a software engineer review it to make sure there's no flaws in the system, there's no vulnerabilities and stuff like this. I also have to mention like a meme I shared the other day on our Slack, our internal Slack. It wasn't a meme, it was a screenshot from Reddit where someone said like cursor just messed up with my 4 months of work. I wrote a prompt and it messed up with my application, and like how how can I undo this? And someone in the comments said like 4 months and you didn't use version control, and like normal people don't know what version control. So like those are like there are some basics that still AI do not cover, but yeah, hopefully in the future we have those things solved, and we can make it will be very, very good for us software engineers because like we will be even more productive. We will focus on um, the security stuff and the important stuff in our app, because like I usually say our job follows the 80-20 rule. uh 80% of just boilerplate work and like boring tasks, and 20% of like the real code and the real challenges we have to go through. And like if AI will handle the 80% of our job, that will make us focus more on this 20% to make it like to make our app secure. And yeah, another hot take I saw on Twitter, like all of the software engineer will be in the future cybersecurity engineers, because like they understand how this work, and like they will review the AI code for big companies, and like companies that work with sensitive information, that make sure it's not hackable. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
100%. Last comments that we'll go through real fast. Pierre, I agree with Zach. Management without engineering experience realizes that program services platforms are engineered products and need to recognize what risks have to be managed with programmed products and services. And we mentioned this earlier as well. Zero trust architecture. Like, I definitely agree with that. Mark shared some details about that earlier. Highly recommend that. Israel, I agree with the 90% argument, but there's a gap between good and bad code for sure. So yeah, you can one shot a simple page, but once we get into servers and properly protecting a database is where the gap between someone who understands coding versus someone who does not, for sure. And I think that's where, that meme comes through, right? Like, just kind of even referencing this one last time. Where'd it go? This one. Like, the guy very proudly boasted on a very public platform, hey, my SaaS is built with Cursor, zero handwritten code. Probably not a good sign to tell the world. AI is no longer just an assistant, it's the builder. Now you can continue to whine about it or start building something. Yay for people, pay for it. Oh, yes, people pay for it. Sorry. Guys, I'm under attack. This is 2 days later. Ever since I started to share how I built my SaaS using Cursor, random things are happening. Maxed out usage on API keys. At least he was smart enough to put a usage rate limit, right? People
Yeah.
bypassing the subscription, creating random stuff on DB. As you know, I'm not technical, so this is taking me longer than usual to figure out. For now, I will stop sharing what I do publicly on Twitter or X, and there will be some weird people out there. There are just some weird people out there. But it's not even that there's weird people out there. You invited it by bragging about it to the point where people are like, all right, let's see what this is all
Let's
about.
test it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't entice people in that sense. I think it's just very, very dangerous to do something in that effect. And
Mm.
Prime, and another example that I think about quite often, his name is escaping me. Ben Awad. Ben Awad made an application. I can't remember what he made, but he made some application where people would make profiles, share images, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember he had to kill the entire application because people were sharing very graphic images, and he had no way to sanitize this before it got onto the application. And it became such a mess that he just killed it to prevent this from like progressing to a very dangerous level. And it's like, you should have something there to vet whatever this image is, at least to say like, okay, is this family friendly, not family friendly? And especially when you're
Mm.
inviting people under a certain age group, this has to be a consideration that you think about. And so yeah, like when you entice the internet will be the internet that it is. And if you're not ready for it, it will make you regret it. So um, I really enjoyed this. Y'all, make sure you drop some love for Mark. Dude's phenomenal. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm really thinking about making this like a weekly thing where we'll stream it on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, where maybe we'll bring on some like blog posts that we make and kind of react and kind of go over valuable tips, especially because I think companies can benefit from this. But also, like, I think like some of the latest AI offerings, we know every single week, pretty much it feels like something changes in the world of AI. Like Claude 3.7, I've been messing with so much lately. I really like a lot of it, but I love the UI aspects. I was testing it out literally last night and gave it like a UI challenge. and was extremely impressed with what came out of it. And I think this is stuff that people aren't even talking about. So I'm thinking about making like a whole article on it or a blog post or something to kind of explain some of this. But I think that the next step will obviously be like discussing or showcasing it in a demonstrable way on how I'm like leveraging it. Maybe people can use it for that as well. Pierre, thank you so much for the comment. Thank you, Mark. Lots of likes and love. I'm seeing that come through. So thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. And so we will call it here. If you found any kind of value in this, please share it. Maybe some company can utilize it. Maybe some team can utilize it. Maybe a junior dev, heck, maybe a senior dev could utilize it. So share it out. Really, really appreciate it. It'll go a long way. Drop your likes and all that good stuff. And Zach, good point here. Something I didn't think about when I said it, but yeah, this is a great point. Now you can use AI to evaluate the images. I definitely think that's a very valuable aspect as well from that regard, right? So it's been real. It's been fun. And y'all, we will see you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.